Hello students, how are you all doing? So your exam is knocking at the door and some are talking about that it's going to be on 3 subjects of your choice. Well, we are not clear about that yet. But let's just say that if your exam is going to be on 3 subjects, English is going to be one of them, aka the best scoring subject, is not it? Hi there, my name is Nahid Ahmed, and in today's video I shall talk about 5 important questions from your supplementary reader that you might see in the exam. Let's begin. Question number 1. Who was 𝒒𝒊? How is he different from other secret agents? How did he show his presence of mind and ability to think quickly in a dangerous situation? As you can see the question on your screen, this is a very common question which had been asked in many of the district boards like Kamrup Metro and others. And there is a probability that this question will appear in your upcoming HSLC examination. If you focus on the first part, that is, who was 𝒒𝒊? The answer to that is pretty easy because 𝒒𝒊 was a secret agent. And he was not like any other secret agent, but a different one. So we can just write 𝒒𝒊 was a secret agent. Now, if you look at the second part of the question, this is also pretty easy. How is he different from other secret agents? If you read the very first 2 paragraphs of the lesson, you would find the answer of these 2 questions. How is he different from other secret agents? 𝒒𝒊, for sure, he's very fat. He doesn't look fit, doesn't fit into the description of a modern secret agent. And nothing exciting happens around him. Like you don't hear any crack of the pistols, no dark-eyed ladies come and slip the messages into his hands. And these accounts have been there, as you can see, while he was talking to Fowler, the writer, describing that how he was disillusioned about him. So I'm pretty sure that the first part and the second part of the question would be pretty easy for you to answer. Let's just focus on the third part, that is, how did he show his presence of mind and ability to think quickly in a dangerous situation? Now, in order to come and answer this portion of the question, you have to go to the next page where 𝒒𝒊 says something like this: I'm going to raise the devil with the management of time this time. Because you see, when he sees Max with an automatic pistol in his hand, he does not get panicked. Rather, he goes into an armchair, sits there, relaxes, gives his mind some time to think, and then comes up with the idea of a fake balcony. Now, this story also, you can put that it suggests that how secret agents are supposed to be. Because spying or espionaging is all about having a clever mind. So in this portion, it would be pretty easy to describe the events, how he concocted that story of a balcony and how he successfully befooled Max. Some of the paragraphs you might already be having in some of your answers, so feel free to add those portions and you are good to go. Question number 2. Briefly describe the extraordinary behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture. This is a very common question and it has been asked in many boards, many times. Like you could see this question in Baksha district, Kamrup district, Morigao district and in other districts, which suggests that this is a pretty common question and we should have an answer ready on this one. This is from your other lesson. So briefly describe the extraordinary behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture. In this question, you are going to stick to what happened with Mr. and Mrs. Hall when they entered one morning into the scientist's room. And when the scientist came back after the robbery at the clergyman's house, how the bedpost, how the chair started moving, and how the chair sprang its legs towards them and pushed them out of the room. So you have to entirely discuss all those things in this answer, and you wouldn't put unnecessary information in this one saying like who was Griffin or anything like that. Don't try to give their description, their physical appearances here. It's not required. You will directly come to the point of the question and keep it within 12 to 15 lines. That will be it. Here is question number 3 on your screen. Who was Griffin? How did he become invisible? Why did Mrs. Hall find him eccentric? Now, this question is such a common question. It has appeared many times in many districts in the mock pre-test that these boards had taken. Let's come to the first part of the question. Who was Griffin? So you can say Griffin was a scientist. You can say that Griffin was a lawless scientist. You can also say that Griffin was a brilliant scientist who discovered how to make human body transparent. Any of these answers would do to begin with it. If you look at the second portion of the question, how did he become invisible? It should go about, you should write a little about how he experimented and how his landlord didn't like him because he was an eccentric guy. Eccentric could be a strange person. These kinds of people who discover things, invent things, they're not common people. They are out of the world. They're sometimes weird. So how did he become invisible? To answer this question, you have to go a little bit backwards, trying to draw some of the experiences that he had, how he was doing experiments after experiments, and one day he gulped some rare drugs, and that made him invisible like a thin sheet of glass. Now it's about that. You can write until that much, and that's how he became invisible until like 2 kids saw the footprints all of a sudden coming on the steps in the London city. Third part is pretty interesting. Also, we have the answer of it. We've heard it a couple of times. It is, why did Mrs. Hall find him eccentric? Why did she find him strange or weird? Now you see, she found him strange and weird because of his countenance, because how he looked. First of all, he was wearing bandages all over his forehead, head, and he was there in that in an unconventional time. He should have never been there at that particular time, especially in winter, that too in a village like that. People don't usually go around or roam around in winter because of that. And also, when she wanted to ask him certain questions, he became moody because he believed that if he would talk, most of the things that he was trying to keep as secrets would come out. So he was a little bit arrogant in that manner, and he became angry all of a sudden. If anybody asked him a question, he just paid her in advance, and the money made her shut her mouth. So that would be about it in this question. Let's just look at the next question. How and why did Griffin come to Epping? What happened to the landlord and his wife in the scientist's room? The second part of the question we had already discussed with question number 2. However, I'll throw some light on it again. What's important here is how and why did Griffin come to Epping? Again, this question has been asked many times in many of the preparatory boards throughout Assam. And it's pretty important. Also, I guess it's a direct question from the text. How and why did he come to that village? How, first of all, There is no direct description. It's just that he booked some tickets, most probably the tickets of a train, and that's how he reached Ipin. That's about it. But why is more elaborative. He came to Ipin in order to escape from the police, because at first, when he was discovered into that shopping mall, he went to the Diruri lane into a theatrical company, and he stole clothes from there, and he attacked the shopkeeper from behind and looted off all his money. And so obviously police would have been after him, so he wanted to move out of that particular situation, and that's why he booked a ticket to a distant village, because nobody would look for a man like him in a distant village at that time. That's what he thought. Now, the second part of the question is, what happened to the landlord and his wife in the scientist's room? It's all about how one morning they went inside, and the unusual behavior of the furniture in his room. He was doing all of it. The bedpost, the cap, and the other things, moving and flying and charging them, and then throwing them out of the room. You have to put a little bit from there, and you have to design your answer in that manner. Let us look at our last question of this discussion video, that is question number 5. How does 𝒂𝒊𝒈 manage to make Max believe that there is a balcony attached to his room? Now, in order to answer this question, this is kind of related to question number 1. How did he befool Max? How did he outsmart Max? All these questions are related to this question. How did he manage to make Max believe? It's about faking that entire story of a balcony that never existed there, and how he jumped onto it. Max jumped onto it, believing that there it was, and he fell directly from the 6th floor and died on the spot. This question you can again begin from somewhere, when he says, I'm going to raise the devil with the management of time, and then how he starts describing the stupidity of the management, like how one individual, it was like the second time somebody entered his room through that balcony, and he was not looking at Max because he was looking at Fowler. It was very convincing, because if he would have looked at Max, his entire story might have been flopped out there. So you can start right from there and include a few points right out there from the text and also from the answers which you've gotten, and you can frame this answer. Again, this question is also pretty common, and it has been asked many a time, so there is a chance that you might see this question in the exam. On top of these, there are other questions which I think you should see, like this one. Who was Mr. Jeffers? Now, to answer it right away, Mr. Jeffers was a constable who was after the Griffin, the scientist. Give a description of the fight between Mr. Jeffers and the scientist. You should talk about the last scene where Mr. Jeffers starts the fight. Starts to catch the scientist, and the scientist keeps on getting invisible by removing clothes after clothes. Also, you can see question number 2, that is, who was Fowler, and describe how he met 𝒂𝒊𝒈. In this one, who was Fowler, you already have the answer. If you don't, Fowler was a writer. He was a romantic writer who loved to write about the adventures. How he met 𝒂𝒊𝒈, because perhaps he was a writer. He wrote about things, and through his sources he might have learned that 𝒂𝒊𝒈 is a secret agent, and he came for some drama, some exciting write-ups. He thought that if I would meet with a secret agent, I would learn a thing or two, and I can write about that literally. Next, you can see describe how 𝒂𝒊𝒈 got rid of his enemy, which is similar to how he outsmarted or outwitted Max, or how he befooled Max. It's just about that, and it's a similar question but asked differently. Next question you can see here is give a description of Griffin's experience in Diruri Lane. That's an interesting question, which we have not discussed there. It's just how he went to Diruri Lane was like it was the center of the theatrical world. If you would go there, you would find all the kinds of shops that was related to that was related to drama and drama companies. So he went there, and because he was looking for something that would hide the empty space in between his shoulder and his head. That's what he was looking at. So, and lastly, you would see that how would you assess Griffin as a scientist? This question is all about how would you. There is a question in the text which says Griffin was rather a lawless person. So that this question is connected with that question. So you can answer around that question because that's a direct textual question. Anyways, that's it for today's class, and I'll see you with a new video. If you have any questions, or if you want me to give you the answer of any of these, please feel free to contact me with through my email. And yeah, that's about it. Bye bye.